Okay, quick story time. So last Thursday, we had a guy drive up from Connecticut to buy the Harley, right? And the bike was running great. We had no problems. It's been gone through. Everything was in good shape, so we're all excited about that. And it's out in the yard and running, and we notice a fuel leak. And we shut the bike off. And what was going on is the fuel was flowing out the overflow, which basically meant that the float was not shutting off the fuel to the carburetor. So it was overflowing and just going over the overflow hose, which is this little tiny hose that connects to the bottom of the carburetor. Where are you? There, tiny little hose that connects to the bottom of the carburetor, and it runs down through and down at the bottom of the engine and drops onto the ground. So we didn't want the guy to become Ghost Rider and have a flaming bike going down the highway. So the first thing I did is, okay, we turned it off, and for whatever reason, I decided, well, let me pull the carburetor off for a quick second and make sure it's properly seated. Because I thought maybe, the Harley's got this interesting little gasket. Can you see that? Little gasket here. That it's easy to pinch or get wrong when you're trying to fit the carburetor on. Thought maybe we pinched that and fuel was just dripping out. But of course, when you step back and think about it, no, it wouldn't have been that, because we would have seen the fuel, dripping right here. And we didn't. We saw it happening on the overflow. But in me pulling the carburetor off real quick, I disconnected the little vacuum line that tells the fuel selector valve that it's good to send fuel. What does that mean? Well, I get the carburetor back on, get it fired up, and I tell the guys, well, look, take it for a spin. Of course, he was able to ride maybe 300 yards away, just far enough to drain the bowl of fuel, because with the vacuum line disconnected, it's not going to give more fuel. It's a safety device. So we had to push him back. And I'm looking at it, and it's like, look, this is embarrassing, right? Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to drop the carburetor, and I'm going to take a look at things and get it sorted. I'll let you know. So here we are. That's the short story. Here we are on Sunday. The carburetor's off the bike, and we're going to basically disassemble the carburetor. I'm going to check the float. In fact, I'm not even going to check the float. I bought a new float, a new gasket, and a new needle valve, and we're just going to put it all in. So let's see what's wrong. Okay, this is the Harley-Davidson carburetor. That's the intake side. That's the part that connects that little rubber gasket. Fuel inlet there, choke cable, blah, blah, blah. And at the bottom, you can see a little tube that the overflow valve connects to. This is the accelerator pump. So what we're going to do is we're going to take, do I have to take the accelerator pump off? I don't. I can just pull that all off as one unit. So I've already replaced the bolts on this, because the original bolts that come with the Harley are Phillips head. And if you don't get it 100% right the first time, they strip. So now I have these little Allen bolts. All right, so I'm going to take this apart. All right, so there's the underside of the carburetor, and I'm going to replace this gasket. Now, this particular bike, one of the reasons we got it here at the club was it had sat. My friend had a stroke, couldn't ride anymore. He said, man, take it before it just rots away. It's like, okay, yeah, we did. And, the other thing I want to point out real quick is this is a new habit that I'm working on. It's called knolling. So when I take something off, I try to line up all the parts so they don't make sense. Presently, I disconnected the accelerator pump here, but I left the accelerator pump little thing. I'm going to put that right there so it's all nice and neat. It might be a little OCD, but that works for me. So we're going to take things apart and kind of keep them all nice and neat and in order, from the carburetor to the parts here. And I've got new parts from Harley-Davidson. That's actually really cool, having a dealership right in town. Neat. Now, keep going. Now, before I go too far, in order to get the float bowl off, which is this little hoo-ha right here, which is moving the pin, which is it connects to, there is a float bowl pin right there. Can you see that little pin? That's going to be pushed out. Now, I tried the old-fashioned traditional method, and that pin is stuck in there. So I have a new tool to try, which is this spring-loaded center punch. And I'm going to give that a go. And unfortunately, I've only got 2 hands, and not having a prehensile tail, I'll do this quickly and see how it goes. The way this works is it's spring-loaded, so you can push, and it's used for making dents in metal, for giving you a center punch for a drill. And that little snap should be enough to start popping that thing out without breaking these arms. That's the thing. This thing is only cast aluminum, and you don't want to be a big monkey and break it. Okay. It's a Sunday. I'm alone in the shop, and if I could only show you really quick how janky, actually I'm going to show you real quick how janky my camera setup is. So I went and I got a wrench, put it on the shelf. There's the end of the wrench. My camera case, or iPhone case, has got a magnet. So I'm going to put that right on the magnet, and the wrench is going to hold my camera. So this is actually working really well. I'm just popping it in here, and you can see it's beginning to push that out. Now that thing was stuck before. So I'm actually really excited that that kind of worked. Might be able to use my hammer now and just pop that little pin out. It is still wanting to stay, but let's see. I don't want to ruin this little thing. I'm going to go find a pin. Hold on. Okay, so a second ago you saw me abusing an Allen wrench. Now I'm going to abuse a drill bit. It's okay. It's cheap. Oh yeah, that's working. Turn this on its side. Keep it from bouncing. Perfect. That's the sound I wanted to hear. So that pin is now coming out. Nice. Go back with my knolling, put it way over there. So now the float and the needle valve comes out. This is the needle valve, and it just kind of hangs on the float. I don't hear anything in the float, but it was the kind of thing I didn't want to risk it. I mean, if this had a little tiny crack in it or any sort of separation, I mean, the bike sat for a while. You don't know, but it seems okay. I'm replacing it anyway. Same thing, the needle valve, there's a little bit of wear on that. You can't quite see it. Where is the camera? There. It's probably okay, but for the price, fix it. And the valve seat looks pretty good. All right, I'm gonna open up some new parts, and I'm gonna hit this thing with some carb cleaner. One of the things I wanted to show real quick is this is the float bowl. So this sits underneath the carburetor. And this little standing rod there, that's the overflow. So the carburetor had to fill up high enough to overflow that. So the float was definitely sticking, which is why we're just going to replace everything and make sure everything's nice and clean. I'm going to keep cleaning the surfaces. I see a little bit of shellac. The carburetor itself looks pretty clean though. I got a couple little pieces in there, but we're going to get all this out. We're replacing this gasket, so that won't be an issue either. All right, real quick, I just opened up the package that had the new needle valve in it, and we can compare the new and the old. I mean, focus in. I'd be hard pressed not to confuse the two. Maybe I have to get a microscope. Yeah. This is the old one. Yeah. Put that away. This is the new one. What's also cool is there's some really good directions that came with the needle valve. for adjusting the float. If the float is sitting, this is a good example. If the float is sitting where it comes up too high, that might run a little rich or might even overflow. So we're gonna set it up so we get the 15 to 20 degree angle as it sits on the bench, and we're gonna measure the distance here. I actually have a caliper so I can get the float to dial in just right. But that's cool, the directions come right with it. I might keep those. Oh, the other thing I want to show, let me get this off here. This is the little vacuum line that attaches to the fuel selector valve for on, reserve, off. And this is what popped off. This is what kept the bike from running more than 300 yards. And when we get it back together, I'll show you where that plugs in. It's really tough to see. It's not something that you're just gonna notice right away, right? So I've got the new float out and I'm noticing a slight difference. Can you see that little extra ear? I mean, right, see that little extra ear there? This one doesn't have it. It broke off. That wasn't anything I did. I wonder what that does. I wonder if that's the difference that could make it hang up. We'll see. Just another example of the knolling type thing. There was a BMW mechanic acquaintance of mine. He's not a friend. He wouldn't know me if I fell on him. Tom. And he said, work clean. And man, that does make a difference when you can sit there and look at all your parts and go, okay, I know where these all go together. It's like an exploded diagram, you know? Knolling. Neat. I like it. All right, so I was just doing a test fit here, and boy, this stuff is small. So the needle valve's got this tiny little hasp wire, and it fits just on the float. And the float and the needle valve then kind of settle in. Get down that, there we go. Interesting, that little piece of plastic, let me point at it here. It actually does matter. It hits against this arm and keeps it from going too far. I wonder if the float just got stuck. I'm not the original owner, so who knows? I'm gonna put the little pin in. Work it through, work it all the way through. Get the other side. I'm just gonna turn it over. Use my same how to dollop a drill bit. Am I getting in the hole? Yeah. Love the smell of carburetor cleaner in the morning. I want to not break anything. I'm just being gentle. There's a great story where I was putting a thermostat housing back together on an old Rover, and I was tightening up the bolt, and my wife's sitting there and it's like, don't you think that's tight? Just as she said it, I broke it. So I like to go a little easy on this stuff. I don't want to break nothing. That is coming through the hole, right? Yeah. Try the special tool, knock it back in the same way. Yeah, this is working okay. Oh, that works great. My new favorite tool. I broke it. Here I am just saying, I'm being more careful. I'm not the big monkey I used to be. I broke it. And of course, it's Sunday. Is the Harley dealership open on a Sunday? I don't think so. But they're probably not open on Monday either. Let's go find out. Okay, score one for Harley Davidson. Not only are they open on a Sunday and their parts department's open on a Sunday, they actually have another float bowl in stock. They must have had two because I already bought one, but now I broke it. So we're going to go to Harley Davidson dealership today and buy another float bowl. Not the bowl, the float itself. Will I get it back installed today? No. But I'll have it for tomorrow morning. And we'll pick this up there. Not that it matters to you. What do you care? You don't know what day it is. And I'll find a smoother, more gentle method for installing this float bowl and this float and this needle valve. I won't monkey it up. I promise. All right. It's Monday. Got a new part. And let's see how this goes. I'll be more gentle this time. Get that up there. Cool. Okay, just rotate that. Most people probably would have said, you should have edited that mistake out. You know, we're not perfect. I'll leave the mistake in. So hopefully you don't make it. How about that? So the pin's coming back in here. Work it through. Get in through the other side. My thought was, I'd use, some people of course, oh, you can use a pair of pliers and stuff like that. Yeah, okay, maybe you can. But I got this little C-clamp and I hope to be just gently, without breaking anything this time, work the pin in. So I really don't want to break stuff. Just gonna check on it. It's coming through, that's good. I'm actually wondering if this is putting too much stress on it. I don't want to break an ear. Almost there. I'll be so happy when this is done. All right, that is getting close. In many ways, I just want to tap that home. Almost. Guess I'm just gun shy. So close, got like half a millimeter. I'll speed this part up. Okay, it's flush. sticking out maybe 0.5 millimeter on the other side. Feels okay. I'm gonna call that that. Now the other thing, I'm gonna replace this gasket. It was looking kind of grubby. So I got the new gasket. I fit it over this part first. I didn't ruin the old one just in case it doesn't fit. But this fits exactly like it's supposed to. That's awesome. Cool. One thing before I put it all back together, get the accelerator pump handle out there for a quick second, is I want to make sure the float is sitting at the right angle. And the directions tell you to have the carburetor sit at a 15 to 20 degree angle, and you'll see the float kind of almost line up with the carburetor body itself. So let's say 15 to 20 degree angle should sit. You don't want to go too far because the pin return spring will collapse. So if the carburetor, basically, if this is straight, we're going to tilt it back just enough. So I've got it back at a 15 to 20 degree angle. Okay, so I got my calipers out, and it says on 1992 and later carburetors, the measurement should be between 0.413 and 0.453. So I'm going to set this up to be 0.42, somewhere around there. Got the carburetor leaned back just enough so it settles like around 15, 20 degrees, but not so much it compresses. And I'm going to see what thickness I get here. And I got it at 0.444. That's within parameters. I'll take it. Cool. Now to reassemble. Put it all back together. Get that off. Bye-bye. Okay, now that we know that the float is within the right range, we'll put the accelerator pump pin back in. And again, I've got the new gasket on. That's awesome. Settle this in, put the pin through the little bellows, get the whole thing to fit. And that is down. Accelerator pump works good. Got my 4 screws. Again, I replaced these with stainless steel button head Allen. Button head. You're a button head. And I'll get these tightened up. Cool. Just putting the final tightening on these. Again, this is an aluminum housing, so you're not putting on the lug nuts of a car. So just get it snug, or a German torque of Gutentight. Gutentight, yeah, Gutentight. Feels like it's all coming together. That's good. Cool. All right, let's go put it back on the bike. All right, well, carburetor's back in, everything's connected. That little vacuum line that fishes through there and gets connected back to the fuel selector, that's a pain. Would have been easier if I pulled the tank off, but I didn't want to do that. So let's get the air cleaner assembly back on. Air cleaner going, get back on, but I wanted to just quickly, these are Torx. Why do they carry so many tools just to change an air cleaner? Torx, screwdrivers, 9/16. Oh my God. Calm down. Okay, moment of truth. You let it sit on the charger overnight so the battery's nice and fresh. Let's see. Choke is on. I'm going to turn the key on. Cool. And let's hit the start and see what happens. Good. Any leaks? Sounds like it's running really well. Let's put the choke in. It's cold. Cool. Call it a win. Now to sell it.